I would like to first congratulate Romeo for this book. And if you haven't read it, if you haven't got it, honestly, get it. It has got, as Ainsley said, some really good tips on how to move around, navigate within the, not just the corporate world, but actually in any sector that you'd like to take on, because I come from the political sector, if you want to call it that, and I'm going to touch on some of the things that I picked up as I've worked with Romeo, and I've known Romeo a long time, and both of us have banged on very hard about the need for us to be able to, first of all, take charge of our own destinies. Professor, you know, if it all goes on height, then I would have been out of it a long time ago. But in 2003, for those of you who are like me, slightly short, a little bit on the plump side, and in your middle age, I was the poster girl of the Tory party in 2003. My children were horrified. My husband thought it was hysterical, but I gave hope to a load of 16-plussers, 5'2"ers, 40-something. So I think what you have to do is you have to do what Ainsley said. You have to take what you've got, and then you have to run with it. And the book actually is quite a good navigating tool for, first of all, looking at yourselves and thinking, what is it that I'm doing that stops me from doing what I want to do? And I think the biggest challenge always is do we underwhelm ourselves by the lack of our own aspirations for ourselves because we fear failure? So I think what I6 allows you to do that. It allows you to get in, and it allows you to try and make some changes. And I joined a party, because I'm a Tory peer, I joined a party that particularly didn't like women, and it didn't like people of my colour. And I thought, okay, but the principles were exactly what I believed in. They were principles of being able to get on with life. And again, if I come back to your book, Romeo, that's what it tells you to do. Stick to what you believe in, and then make others around you change to believe in them too. So that's what you do. You have to be in the tent. I can't remember who said it, but it's best to be in the tent rather than me on the outside, and I won't say the word, but doing it in. You all know what I mean. But I think it's really, really important. And, you know, Ainsley got up, and it's quite tough, you know, being 6'4". Whew. But you know what? He got up and he was able to say, and probably because he was mentored by somebody who gave him the opportunity to say, you can do it. Now, the one thing I know is that we don't get enough people telling us we can do it. I know what we all say is, oh my God, you're not going to go for that, are you? It's damn hard. But what I've learnt now is that the people who succeed are people who understand the strength of networks. They understand the strength of finding people who can believe in them and they can give belief back. Now, I also mentor young businesses. They come to me to go on to the next level. So they've started their wonderful business up and they want to know how do I take it now to the level where you can actually get people to invest in it and make it sort of much more a business that is heading towards being a business of corporate sizing. Now, I do that because I know the struggles I had when I was trying to do a business. So it's really, really easy to sort of slip into thinking that there's no help out there. But each and every one of you will know several people who probably think and look up to you for advice, for support, and you give it. And you give it freely, you give it without knowing. So why, when we need it, can't we just take it freely and without any sort of, you know, I have no resistance. If somebody knows better than me, I actually say, please tell me, because we are all able to learn something new. You know, I was going to say my age, but I can forget that one. You can Google that one, right? But what I know is that I've now been in politics, active politics, frontline politics for 10 years, I came into it in 1999. I took a decision, age 40, I was going to do active politics. So I took that decision and I decided to join a political party, and then I decided that what I really, really wanted to do was to get into a position where I would be able to help make those policies and decisions that would help change people's lives for better. Now, I knew no one, but I worked hard at what I needed and what I wanted, and I found out the people I knew who would be able to help me. I found brilliant mentors on the way. And there was no shortage of them. There was plenty of horrible people too. Plenty of horrible people who said, we don't need your type of thinking. And I would say, fine, I don't need yours. And it's really just simple as that. It's easier to walk away and think you can't change anything. It's tougher to stick it out. But you know what? You can actually see off the people you don't want there by being that person. Because it comes back to that leadership point. You either believe in yourself and lead, or you gripe. And I have never in my life taken the decision to gripe, because it changes nothing. All it does is produces loads and loads of negativity, and then you find that people they start drifting away, because this person's only going to gripe. So, I was a minister for energy and climate change, and I was speaking to Ainsley earlier. Politics is a really peculiar game, Professor. 1 minute you may be in a job, and the next minute the Prime Minister decides you may not be. And it's quite brutal, and Maxine, who's come with me from my office, will tell you, the minute you're not going to be in it, it's just one phone call, 2 hours, and you've got to have all your stuff out. There's no goodbyes. There's no thank you very muches. It's gone. But you take that with the territory. So the corporate world is exactly the same. The corporate world is not your best friend. The corporate world is not your buddy, but you are a load of people coming together, all desperately wanting to get up to that top. And the thing is this, sometimes you need to support somebody else to get there before you do. The problem we have, and it comes back to those networks, we haven't got those evolved networks yet, because they take generations. They don't happen overnight. So Ainsley will be in it. The next generation will benefit from his presence, and the next will benefit from his. But we are relatively still new to the game. And so therefore, we have to fit into the networks. We have to first and foremost access them. And so we have to go in knowing that we've got to find the entry points. And when you find the entry points, you then decide to go back and have a look at who else is coming behind you. And then you bring that person with you. Please do not do what I see so often, and I hear so often. Well, you know what? I had it tough. Yeah, so did everybody else. But we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. What we have to do is basically say, we had it tough. So what things could we change to make it less tough? And then the networks develop. And now I am privileged. I'm going to say it very clearly. I am very, very lucky. I sit in the House of Lords. It is a great honour to be able to represent my country wherever I go. I am the ministerial champion globally for this country for tackling violence against women and girls. It is a huge privilege and an honour. I am the Minister for the International Development. It is a huge honour. You don't get that suddenly, overnight. You have to work at it. You have to get those networks in place. So I decided very early on in my politics that everywhere, anybody who wanted to come into politics, I would mentor. So I take people on board to mentor. But what I say to them is, you give up. I don't give up on you, but if you give up, I've got no time for you. And that's what you've got to do. If we are to get those networks, and there are some really good networks that you will have no idea exist. Because you know what? We were too busy being in our little networks and not exploring outside. And the reason we weren't, because we're frightened that we'll get rejected. Does it matter? Does it matter if somebody says we don't want you in our network? Because you know what? For every one, there's another one over here that does. So I think, you know, what I've taken away from the book, if I come back to the book again, what I've taken away from this book is a very easy read book. And honestly, it doesn't take a lot of time consumption or heavy digestion. It's a book that tells you that ultimately it's in your hands. Ultimately, you have to be the ones to decide. I decided at 13 that I was going to march against racists in Leicestershire, my place where I come from. I decided I wanted to go into politics. I then tooled myself up. And that's what it is, isn't it, Romeo? It's ultimately tooling yourselves up. I don't go around thinking that because somebody's rejected me, that I am not wanted. Well, I find other ways. I've now decided that if I can't go through it or around it, I just find ways of just making it move apart so I can do my own bit. I think you've just got to be clever and creative and believe in yourself. Because being that clever and that creative helps somebody else. I mean, Ainsley said to me, I want to do this thing, but I want to find the right person to be able to do this thing for, because I want to work with young people who turn to violence. Now, had we not met, he wouldn't have known about the person that I've now introduced him to. And that's networks. Hopefully he'll go on, and hopefully he'll do what he said he'll do, and hopefully in a couple of years' time, when his program's great, brilliant, and fantastic, he'll turn around and write a book and say, footnote, Baroness Verma helped. You know, none of us are shy of a little bit of publicity. But I think you've got to believe in yourself. And I'm going to finish, because somebody's going to start pointing 5 minutes at me in a moment. I can feel it coming. He's done it already. He's moving. Right. There it is. You've done it. Thank you. I just want to say one thing. I grew up. My dad came to this country with £3. He suffered the worst kind of racism because he was a turbaned Sikh, that he had to have his hair cut to get a job. That was fine. He never griped about it. What he instilled into me was my value of myself. He said, you must learn to love yourself. I come from a culture where if you're a girl, it's an issue. If you're a dark girl, it's an issue. That's within the culture. Then you go outside of the culture, those same things apply again. Gender, colour, age, I'm now, as I get older, height, weight. Things start stacking up against you if you're not the perfect fit. So now I've decided, I don't care. I get my fan. I'm happy about being loud and proud. So that's my thoughts for you. Go away from here saying, the corporate world is like any other world. You fit into it as you want to fit into it. And remember, those at the top are people like you and I. They're no different, they're made no differently, they have the same flaws, but what they want are people who are going to fit into an organization and make the organization work. So don't go there to rock it just for the sake of rocking it. Go there to change it for the better, but do it with the rules and the tools that you've got within the organization, because that's the way to succeed.